So this part is going to be all about the boost, all the boost settings and what they're for. So we've gone through all the boring stuff. Now let's try to discover some of the cool stuff like the boost, mod effects, delay, so on and so forth. But right now, we're just going to focus on the boost. And as you see right here, boost has like all these parameters right here. You got the drive, tone, bottom, effect level, solo switch, solo level, and direct mix. Now I'm going to read it straight from the user's manual about what they do. I mean, obviously, drive adjusts the depth of the distortion, how much or how little distortion you're going to have. The tone adjusts the tone. You can go from minus 50 to plus 50. Or you can just set it right in between somewhere here. It doesn't matter. And then you have the bottom. Adjust the tone for the low frequency range. Turning this to the left, counterclockwise, produces a sound with low end cut. Turning it to the right, boosts the low end. And effects level, obviously adjust the volume of the effects sound. So if you got that all the way down, you're going to hear nothing. Then you got the solo switch. That turns the solo on and off. Solo level, that tells you the level of the solo. And lastly, the direct mix, adjust the volume of the direct sound. So let's go into a little depth of all the different types of solos we got going on here, because you got a ton of them. Now, as of this video, the latest one is the Senta OD, which is the clone. So let's start right from the top. A clean boost. It not only functions as a boost, but also produces a clean tone that has punch even when used alone. So let's go over to our starter tone right here, and let's play around with each one. Let's go all the way up to clean boost, and we're going to turn it on. Not warm boost, I said clean boost. And turn up the guitar and see what we're sounding like. See what it sounds like with it on and off. Now, if you put that in a crunch amp, let's turn the gain down on this crunch. Now let's turn that clean boost on. Sounds pretty good. You can turn that level up a little bit, maybe add a little more bite to it. With it off again. Bump up that drive some. Yeah, so that's a clean boost. Fairly straightforward. Next up, we have the treble boost, which obviously it gives it a brighter character. So let's turn it down just about 44. I think we can probably go about 7 on this. And let's see what it sounds like. Turn it off and see how it sounds. Turn it off and see how it sounds. Yeah, you can hear it. If we crank it up some. A little too much edge on there, but yeah. Next thing, you got the mid boost. This is a boost with unique characteristics in the mid-range, making the connection before the preamp produce sounds suitable for solos. Let's find out. Off. It also makes you play faster. Let's turn the solo on that one. Went off key there for a second. But yeah, I like that mid boost. Next up, we have Crunch Overdrive. Now, if we already got Crunch, let's turn off the Crunch here. Let's see how crunchy it really is. Now let's turn on the crunch amp. Because with most overdrives, it helps if you have an amp that is pushed slightly to the edge. See, like this one is not, so let's crank up the gain some. Now let's add that crunch overdrive to it. Let's turn off the solo. Yeah, it doesn't sound so great on the clean setting. Let's bump it up to crunch. I'm almost thinking that I should have just recorded a riff, had it in a looper, and played it out like that, but that's okay. Let's see, with the crunch. And with the boost off. Definitely hear a difference. Whoops. What did I just do? Moving on, Blues Drive. Man, let me tell you, the Blues Driver is probably one of the most versatile overdrives you are going to find from Boss. Now, since we're starting with the Blues Drive emulates the Boss BD2, which is an awesome pedal. But what I wish would happen in Tone Studio was that they would have all the same settings as you would have on the pedal itself. Like you'd have drive, tone, and then just level. Actually, it'd be level, tone, and drive. And just cut this all other stuff out. But you don't get it. And I really wish that was that way in other pedals too, but it's not. So let's listen to this clean. And hit that blues driver in there. So the blues drive is... You can even turn that down to get a better tone out of it. So that's the blues drive. I love that. You can incorporate that into a lot of different tones right there. Next up is the overdrive. This models the sound of the old school, old dirty one, OD1, Boss OD1. I'm thinking that maybe I should have grabbed a single coil so you could hear some of these overdrives in single coil, but I'm not going to go with switching everything up. I got this contemporary jazz master with some active humbuckers in here, so it's just what I'm using. But I'm just trying to do a quick demo of all these different boosts right now. And like I said, you can go through, you can adjust effects level, the bottom, the tone, and you can round them out even more if you use a parametric EQ or the graphic equalizer. Next up, we have the natural overdrive. This is supposed to mimic like an amp's natural overdrive. Now, we put it on clean. See, it's not a whole lot there. But let's bump it up to crunch and... take care of it. All right. Everything seemed to go out of tune, and I just tuned it before I even started this, so maybe I should have grabbed a better guitar. These are new strings, too, so they haven't had quite some time to settle just yet. So that was Natural Overdrive. Moving on to the next one is Warm Overdrive. Now this Warm Overdrive, it just says this is a Warm Overdrive. Let's put it back on clean over here. That is a bridge pickup. It just sounds a little low because it's a Warm Overdrive. Doesn't sound very warm there, does it? Switching it out. All right, that last guitar was aggravating me because it kept going out of tune. But this one's a lot easier to shut off anyway with the knob. It's a faster knob, kind of noisy too, isn't it? Anyway, we left off at Warm. Next thing you know, we're going to a Turbo Overdrive. Now, this is the high gain overdrive sound of a Boss OD2. Never been big on turbo overdrives. Tried the Turbo Tube Screamer, and it just wasn't all that. All it did was it just added so much bottom end, it was almost unbearable. Now, this isn't too bad on a warm or a clean amp. Oh, we're not even on a clean amp. Thought we were. Of course, I turned it off. Yeah, it's not too bad on a clean amp. Obviously, tone. Let's just demonstrate the actual controls here for you. No bottom end. Too much bottom end. Effects level 50%, 100%, 0%. See, it turns it right off. So let's put it up to about 50 or so. And then drive, of course. And I already demonstrated solo. And next up after turbo is a good old T Screamer. No, that's Tube Screamer. Typical overdrive, but let's bump up that bottom end, pull the tone down some, pull that some, and let's put it up on the crunch. Tube Screamer can really liven up your sound, especially on crunch, and you add some parametric EQ to it, and man, it's really good. Man, talk about rusty. Then distortion, it says it gives a basic traditional distortion sound. It doesn't say it's a DS1 or anything like that. It just says a traditional distorted sound. And you can keep that on a crunch too, and it's still... Let's go over here. Okay, this is one of my tones, and it's kind of a snarly. Because I've got a bunch of parametric EQ going on here that really livens it up. But let's go back over to boost and let's go to distortion. That parametric EQ doesn't quite work with these settings. Turn that bottom end down a bit. I think you can get a lot better sounds out of other pedals besides the distortion on there. Like I showed you a minute ago, the Tube Screamer works awesome. I don't even have a Tube Screamer on my regular pedal board, but here it sounds great. Now you got a fat distortion, which a distorted sound with a little thickness behind it, a little fatness. I'm going to have some peaks on that one, that fatness. Now that is with a clean amp. I add some crunch to it. Turn that gain down a bit. Let's turn the bass up a little bit on this amp. Yeah, it's like a little distortion with a little junk in the trunk. Next you know, you got a Governor DS. This is another cool one too. Actually, it's Distortion Plus. I got ahead of myself. Distortion Plus models an MXR Distortion Plus. I'm not a fan, but we're going to play it anyway. That's with the crunch channel already. Let's put it in a clean and then bump it up some. Not too bad. And what I was saying before, Governor DS. This model's an old Marshall Governor. Oh, Governor! And that's on clean channel. We put it on the crunchy. And that sounds really good with parametric EQ too if you play with that. I know I've said parametric EQ a bunch of times. Next up we got a good old rat. You know what a rat is. It's a little distortion, it's a little fuzz, it's a little overdrive. Let's put it on the clean. After the rat, you got the good old MT2, the Metal Zone. Now, Metal Zone and DS1 are two pedals that are very misunderstood and that are often not used very well. A lot of people say, oh, just plug the MT2 into the return of your FX loop and use it as a preamp, but then it just nullifies everything else on your FX loop, so what's the point? If you can't plug it into the front of the amp and get a good sound, it's not even worth having to put on your pedal board. I think you can get a good sound out of the MT2 if you EQ it just right and you try not to turn that distortion up too loud. In fact, right now, I'm going to crank it down to about 50%. I'm going to put the effects level at about 50%, and I'm going to turn this tone down and the bottom up a little bit so it's not so fizzy. Let's see what she sounds like. Add a little effect level on there. Crank it up just a hair. See, everybody wants to take that drive and turns it up way too high, and it just starts getting a little fizzy from there. I like to keep it 50 and below. Like I said, this is another one of those where I wish they had the same controls as the Boss, because it has a high-low, and then it has a high-low mid-frequency that you can adjust. Moving on. This is distortion sound. This is exactly how they got it written. This is distortion sound that is ideal for performance of heavy riffs. Sometimes I think stuff gets lost in translation when this stuff comes overseas. This is distortion sound. That just doesn't sound like proper grammar to me. This is distortion sound that is ideal for performance of heavy riffs. Well, so is the metal zone. So boy, this one you really got to crank up the tone on. Might have to turn back to bottom too, but not too much. There's just something about this that I don't like. So that's your metal distortion. Let's move on, because that one sounds like hot garbage. Next is a 60s fuzz, models of Fuzz Face. Should we put in a little crunch amp? Yeah, there you go. Next up, you got a Muff Buzz. This is models and Electro-Harmonix Big Muff Pi. I think I got too much bottom end on this one already. Let's crank that bottom end down some. What if we crank up that drive? Let's go back to the 60s fuzz and hear that cranked like that. That's exactly how I expected it to sound. And now we're going to an octave fuzz, which is a fuzz with an octave. Nice. I like that whole octave sound going on with the fuzz. It sounds cool. And next thing we got the HM2, the heavy metal, the Swedish chainsaw. But on this one, if you crank everything up, if you dime it out, it's going to sound like ass. And you got to take it off the crunch. You got to kind of put it down here. You have to give it some bottom. It's got that nice guttural sound to it. Let's go up to Snarly Dude and turn it on. See what she sounds like with the parametric EQ in it. Probably gonna sound rough. Settle down. That's too much. That is a Swedish chainsaw. You can really dial that one in too if you take your time and kind of work it out. You don't have to have that full-blown Swedish chainsaw sound. You can get a good, nice, guttural, gritty sound out of that one. Next up, let's go to the metalcore. This is a good pedal. Both of these are great pedals to have, like physical pedals, but the metalcore has a nice sound to it. We're going to keep that one on clean too. But I feel like we're going to need some more effect level on that one, and some more tone, and some more overall drive. This one you really have to EQ to boost it up. It's crazy. I don't know why, but it sounds so low in the mix. Turn it up some more. Screw that up. Not even in the right tune, but... Screwing up some ATR. Anyway, and last we got the Sintra Overdrive. We're going to have to put this on a crunchy because you got to hear this when it's not. Okay, this is supposed to be the clone. Tweak it just a bit. And then let's put her up on crunchy. Nice, gritty, very treble-driven overdrive. What's that? Oh, you want to hear it with a single coil? I don't know if I have one in tune, but let me grab one. All right, so I grabbed my Fender Strat here. I got some deluxe drives in it. So they're a little hotter than normal. And we're running through the Senta. Sounds actually really good. It sounds better through a single coil. So, those are all the boosts. I hope I gave you at least a little bit of sample of what they sound like. I know I mostly played power chords and some terrible noodling riffs, but I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what each one of those is and what they sound like and what these controls over here do. So, that's it. Let's move on to mods.